Hold on to your seats, guys. It's going to be a bumpy fourth stimulus check update and daily news update. Someone in California just won the $699.8 million Powerball jackpot. Wow, right? On to the stimulus front. Mitch McConnell is making his move on the big debt ceiling issue. What's McConnell up to? Let's find out. And lastly, Biden's big moves to get us more stimulus than the $3.5 trillion reconciliation package. Is it still $3.5 trillion? All the details and more in today's video. Whenever you happen to be watching this video in the country. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're ready for the stimulus updates, the US news, and of course, money-making tips. That's what we're all about on this channel. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, and always thank you guys for hitting that like button. I really appreciate your support. Your likes are definitely a big help with these tricky YouTube algorithms. So without further ado, let's go and jump in. $699.8 million Powerball jackpot. After 40 drawings without a big Powerball winner, a single ticket sold in California matched all 6 numbers and was the lucky winner of the nearly $700 million jackpot prize. That's just crazy to me. The winning numbers drawn on Monday night were 12, 22, 54, 66, and 69. The Powerball was 15. Now, for the record, that $699.8 million is the 7th largest win in US history. So far, what is known about the winning ticket is that it was sold at a grocery store in Morro Bay, located along the state's central coast. So far, nobody's come forward yet, and the lottery officials won't know the actual identity of the card holder, or of the winning ticket holder, I should say, until a claim form has been filed. But it's definitely exciting news, right guys? Why is it that California keeps winning? The whole state just recently got the Golden State California stimulus checks the other day. Tell me, what would you do if you won the lottery? Drop a quick comment down below. Let's talk about it some more. As for our own good luck, we're gonna see this week whether Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are gonna budge, or if the Democrats will actually have to go it alone in passing the debt ceiling increase. The odds are definitely stacked, as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer set a vote to advance the debt ceiling suspension bill.
Now on the debt ceiling. Before the end of this week, the Senate must get a bill to the president's desk to address the acute crisis of the debt limit. President Biden was crystal clear in his speech this morning. If Republicans don't get out of the way and let the Senate take action now, our government will in all likelihood enter default for the first time ever. Sadly, the Republican position as the party of default has now become so extreme that they've blocked every single attempt to prevent a default from happening, putting our country in serious danger. They've gone so far as rejecting their own requests for how the debt ceiling should be raised. Their own requests. We're putting those in action. They're now saying no. Why do you think? Why do you think?
This vote would need 60 votes to be able to break a filibuster and move forward with suspending the debt ceiling through December 2022. That would require 10 Republicans to break ranks in the 50-50 Senate. So far, we have not seen any cracks in the Republican defense here. And that's why Schumer and Biden are hitting from all sides and putting the blame squarely on Mitch McConnell and the Republicans. The hope there really is Mitch McConnell, or at least 10 other Republicans, will actually get moving. Biden declared that the Senate Republicans are being hypocritical, dangerous, and disgraceful. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that Republicans under President Donald Trump spent like drunken sailors, and unveiled a chart comparing the debt that they incurred. The White House is also planning to dispatch more people to deliver their debt ceiling message on TV this week. Yellen went on CNBC to talk about the possible recession that a default would actually cause.
And so I do regard October 18th as a deadline. It would be catastrophic to not pay the government's bills, for us to be in a position where we lack the resources to pay the government's bills. It really undermines confidence in the full faith and credit of the United States, our willingness to stand behind our debts and make sure that we pay them. And when you think about the impact it could have on 50 million seniors that are expecting Social Security checks, on our troops, on 30 million households waiting to receive their child tax credit payments, and these would be delayed, and the delays would grow longer. And of course, our debt itself, U.S. Treasury securities have long been viewed as the safest asset on the planet, that partly accounts for the reserve status of the dollar, and placing that in question by failing to pay any of our bills that come due would really be a catastrophic.
Now, to bring it home for everyone, a recession is when the economy slows down for at least 6 months. So that means that there are fewer jobs, people are making less money and spending less money, and businesses stop growing and may even close down. Unfortunately, people at all income levels feel the impact. Now, if we have a recession, it could mean that you'll earn less money. Tough economic times usually create widespread layoffs. The types of jobs that are at the greatest risk of going away include manufacturing, finance, construction, media, and tech. When people are out of work or making less money, they may not be able to pay their bills. This can cause people to go into debt or even lose their assets such as their homes or their cars. As people and businesses stop spending as much, the stock market may start losing out as well. This could result in an even worse crash down the line. It's kind of like a domino effect of scary consequences, all starting from a debt ceiling default. So the question really is, what does Mitch McConnell really want here? Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, has a long record of tying debt ceiling increases to policy demands, meaning he's used to holding the debt ceiling hostage to get his demands. But this time he hasn't made any demands. McConnell even told Biden in his letter on Monday, "We have no list of demands." McConnell has said the government must not be allowed to stop paying its debts. He also said that he will not let any Republicans vote to raise the debt limit. According to this, Mitch McConnell appears to want to sow political chaos for Democrats while insulating himself and other Republicans from an issue that has the potential to divide them. Senator Chris Van Hollen, he even went so far as to say McConnell is singularly focused on winning control of the Senate in 2022 midterm elections, full stop. To his mind, that means using every tactic at his disposal to cause President Biden to fail, even if it hurts the country. That's kind of dangerous. I hope winning the 2022 midterm elections is not that serious that you would actually compromise the entire country. Another interesting part in all this is how popular Mitch McConnell is among America's top CEOs, aka big business and big pharma, that are against the Democrats' plans for some major human infrastructure stimulus. It says here that Mitch McConnell's re-election effort has received a total of $258,880 from 37 chief executives whose companies are components of the S&P 500 stock index. I don't know, it sounds like something shady might be going on over there. What do you guys think? I always say follow the money, and following the money here definitely leads us to somewhere the sun doesn't shine. Still, Democrats are not giving up the fight. With just days to go before potential debt default, which would be the first in US history, Democrats emerged from a luncheon strategy meeting saying that there's no way that they would use the lengthy budget reconciliation process to raise the debt ceiling. Chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, Senator Sherrod Brown said, "We're not going to do it on reconciliation. It's too complicated. There's too many pitfalls. It takes too long." Schumer said, "That could take 2 weeks, maybe even longer, since just one senator could drag out the proceedings and would require holding 2 lengthy vote-a-ramas when senators can offer an unlimited number of amendments that require floor votes." There's also this idea with the filibuster.
The majority needs to stop sleepwalking toward yet another preventable crisis. Democrats need to tackle the debt limit. We gave them a roadmap and 3 months' notice. I suggest that our colleagues get moving.
Again, all of that spoken with a straight face. The Senate expected to vote again this week to suspend the debt ceiling, and the vote is again expected to fail because Mitch McConnell's Republicans continue to block it. Politico is reporting on Schumer's gamble this way, quote, "Democrats are betting that the needed Republican senators will eventually cave in order to stave off an unparalleled economic disaster, which could hit in as little as 2 weeks, but the GOP refuses to fold. Democrats are running out of time to remedy the crisis on their own." Great night to have back with us former Minnesota Democratic Senator Al Franken, who these days has the good fortune to host a podcast bearing his name. Hey, Senator, what do you make of this McConnell threat? Are they really going to sit it out? And are the Democrats doing enough, getting angry enough, making enough noise?
He's going to sit it out. He's, as you said in before the commercial, I said he's destroyed the Senate. He did that by, he did more filibusters of executive nominees during Obama than been done in the previous history of the country. And this is just him being ruthless. Merrick Garland was that. We got to start doing that. One, we are going to have to do this. It would be insane to default. Absolutely insane. We can't do it. The dollar is the default currency of the world. We can't let it not be. So it will happen. I have confidence that we will step in there and Mitch will do exactly what he says. But we have to start being as ruthless as him. For example, the Freedom to Vote Act, which was negotiated by Amy Klobuchar and Joe Manchin and others, is a great bill. But we need to pass it because state legislatures have passed these voting bills, these election bills in these states that say that the state legislature can overturn the results. That's kind of what Trump wanted them to do last year. We can't allow that to happen. So Joe Manchin says he will not get rid of the filibuster, but we can modify it. And Norm Ornstein and I have a plan to do that. Instead of 60 votes to stop a filibuster, you need 41 to sustain a filibuster, and 41 senators have to show up on the floor and they have to stay there. They need 41 and they have to debate. It's a talking filibuster. They have 50, they can go back and forth, but the average senator could only be off the floor, Republican senator only be off the floor for 5 hours, and it won't last long.
But to your call to action from your fellow Democrats, you know better than most people the cultural difference between the parties. Democrats have always been and continue to be kind of culturally skewed towards student council presidents, increasingly Whole Foods and electric car enthusiasts. As Rick Wilson famously said, Democrats bring a soup ladle to a gunfight. Meantime, you're up against stone cold killers.
Yeah, well, we have to stop it. We have to be stone cold cold killers. And this is, we're going to, by the way, I agree with A.B. Stoddard, exactly, this is going to get done. She described it, I think, perfectly. On the voting rights, this is an existential threat to our democracy. If we lose our democracy, we lose everything. So we have to pass this bill, and you can carve out and say for elections, this is our democracy. We can carve that out and pass it with 51 votes. Or you can do what I'm talking about, which would restore the filibuster to what it was, which was something that was rare when a minority cared about something. And I would love for them to debate these voting laws in these states. I would love to hear the debate on why you can't hand somebody water in a line who's been waiting for hours, who's still waiting for hours to vote.
Yeah, I'd show up for that debate too. If memory serves, you served with Manchin but not Sinema. What generally do you make of the Mike Nichols and Elaine May of the U.S. Senate?
Nichols and May were much funnier. Joe, I know very, very well. Look, I think there's stuff he's proposed, I think, in the last day or so that they're good things. For example, getting rid of taxing carried interest as capital gains. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And Sinema was very helpful on the bipartisan infrastructure package. She's going to get there. They have to get there. And we have to start. There's so many great things in this package. There's Medicare negotiating for pharmaceuticals. We pay 3 times as much for the same pharmaceuticals as Europe. And that's because the biggest purchaser of pharmaceuticals in our country can't negotiate. All their governments negotiate. That's ridiculous. The child tax credit reduced poverty by childhood poverty by half. Biggest middle class, working class tax cut, low income tax cut in the history of the country. people like the elements. We got to start talking about what the elements are and not call it the reconciliation package.
We're seeing similar ideas on the filibuster from other lawmakers. Some Democratic senators are discussing the possibility of carving out a special exception to the filibuster that would allow the debt ceiling to be suspended with just 50 votes. That would require overruling the Senate parliamentarian and creating a new precedent. Some even call it the nuclear option. And maybe we're at that point already. Biden told reporters at the White House that this was a real possibility. Schumer has indicated that he's willing to cancel the October recess scheduled for October 11th through the 15th to buy more time on the debt ceiling debate. We're gonna stay here until we get this done. I agree, they better get this done. We're talking 6 million jobs lost, $15 trillion in savings wiped, Social Security, including 50 million seniors, and payments to our troops blocked. Definitely not something you want to be leaving on the Congress table while you go on your recess for sure. We will definitely stick very, very close to this one, guys. Make sure you catch the latest updates right here on the channel, hit the subscribe button, and tap that notification bell. On another stimulus front that we're keeping watch over, we have the dual stimulus bills, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill coupled with the $3.5 trillion stimulus package. Is it going to be $3.5 trillion? Let's find out. Biden's hitting the road and selling his agenda to the people. He went to the swing state of Michigan on Tuesday to say that the two stimulus bills must pass at this inflection point for the U.S.
All those investments that fuel the strong economy, we've taken our foot off the gas. I don't know what's happened. The world has taken notice, by the way, including our adversaries, and now they're closing the gap in a big way. So it's essential that we regain our momentum that we've lost and the work of our time, it seems to me, those of us who hold public office, is to prepare ourselves to be more competitive and to win the fast-changing 21st century in the global economy. Things are changing incredibly quickly. That's why I proposed two critical pieces of legislation being debated back in Washington right now. The first, a bill to invest in our physical infrastructure, and the second is a bill to invest in our human infrastructure. I'll talk about both these bills in just a moment, but first, I want to set one thing straight. These bills are not about left versus right, or moderate versus progressive, or anything that pits Americans against one another. These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency. They're about opportunity versus decay. They're about leading the world or continue to let the world pass us by, which is literally happening. To support these investments is to create a rising America. America is moving. To oppose these investments is to be complicit in America's decline. To support these bills is to pursue a broader vision of our nation, and oppose them is to accept a very cramped view of our future. This isn't about two pieces of legislation. It's about the inflection point I mentioned earlier we are in our history, the world history.
He said the United States sat at an inflection point in terms of economic competitiveness and argued passage of his agenda is necessary to ensure adversaries do not surpass the nation. And you notice how he maneuvers around the left versus the right argument, right? He said, these bills are not about left versus right or moderate versus progressive or anything that pits Americans against one another. These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency. They're about opportunity versus decay. They're about leading the world or continuing to let the world pass us by. Those are some strategically placed words there, Mr. President. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki pointed out also just how much people in Michigan would actually benefit from the stimulus. She said that people in Michigan actually spend an extra 60% of their time commuting because of needs for updates to transit systems, and that nearly 10% don't have access to broadband, and 44% live in what she described as child care deserts. I'll be honest with you guys, I've never been to Michigan before, but can you guys speak to this? Is it really this bad up in Michigan? Hit me up in the comments below. Now, on top of his stimulus roadshow, President Biden has been meeting with lawmakers left and right to hit the stimulus sweet spot of their party. Now, although Biden may have sided with the liberals, who took a stand last week in not passing the smaller bill without its bigger counterpart, Biden also urged liberals to compromise on their top line number, putting some income limits on their plans. Definitely not a bad compromise. We will probably see numbers much like with the stimulus checks last time around. Could this be signaling some talks on another round of stimulus checks? We'll definitely have to see in our future updates. Slowly but surely, Democrats are getting there. The progressives and the centrists seem to be moving toward a mutually agreeable top line number. And guess what? Even Senator Joe Manchin has loosened up the purse strings a little bit, so that's also a good sign. Manchin signaled he may be open to a budget reconciliation bill in the ballpark of $1.9 trillion to $2.2 trillion, definitely way bigger than his original $1.5 trillion. He seemed a little bit more open to negotiations too when he said recently, "I'm not ruling anything out, but the bottom line is I want to make sure that we're strategic and that we do the right job and don't basically add more to the concerns that we have now." Okay, that's definitely a lot better than last time around when he said, "My top line has been $1.5 trillion. Seemed like there was no flexibility at first, but it looks like it's a different story now, so very good. There's no way we can't have these two together. Even Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said it's the fiscally responsible thing to do.
Because the Democrats have now linked these two other spending packages together that are quite remarkable in size. And I'm curious if you could take us inside those conversations and whether you support linking those two packages together.
Well, I support both packages. I think the infrastructure bill that was crafted on a bipartisan basis certainly has the support of the White House. I'm supportive of it. Without doubt, we need to modernize our infrastructure. Our roads and bridges, in many cases, are crumbling. We need to upgrade our ports, our airports, to modernize our grid, to build electric power charging stations across the country, to promote the use of electric cars to address climate change. This is really important, but what's in the other package, the reconciliation package, is also tremendously important. It involves child care, paid leave, a child tax credit, investments in education, in early childhood education, and very important climate change initiatives. And all of these initiatives are important for our economy to be able to grow. Some of the supports for children and families will raise labor force participation, make it easier for women to work in the labor force, make us closer to most other advanced countries. Labor force participation for women now lags behind. Climate change, it's essential to deal with that. And look, this is a package that's paid for. We've proposed tax increases and improvements in enforcement that would serve to close what's estimated to be a $7 trillion tax gap over the next 10 years. So this is a fiscally responsible package, and the total spending is less than 1%. It's over 10 years, and it's less than 1% of GDP over those 10 years. In that sense, it's not very large.
You heard that? 1% of the GDP across the 10 years we'd be paying for it. And what do we get? Tax credits, paid leave, Medicare expansion, cheaper drugs. I don't know. Seems like a good deal. What do you think? Hit me up in the comments. Definitely more updates to follow on this and all of our other stimulus favorites in our future updates. For now, that was your fourth stimulus check update, your daily news update. Someone in California just won that $699.8 million Powerball jackpot. Mitch McConnell's plans behind the debt ceiling. And lastly, Biden's big moves to get us more stimulus than that $3.5 trillion reconciliation package. I hope we got you guys up to date. Drop me a quick comment down below whether I did or not. And if we didn't, don't worry. I promise there will definitely be more stimulus to come in my future videos. Just always stay tuned to the channel. And hey, thank you guys for always hitting the like button on the way out. And I will see you guys on the next one.